Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness with your luscious hostess, May Vu, broadcasting live every Monday at 12 noon Pacific Time.
Hello, everyone. This is May, and happy Monday. I love Mondays because I get to do these shows and have bold and daring conversations with beautiful guests and from all over the world. So today is another conversation that gives me, like how dare I talk about the need to have a mistress. Everybody needs a mistress is a pretty bold statement for me. So I'm like, am I nuts? Did I just say what I think I say? But I have talked to our guest today. Her name is Nikki, and it's so fascinating. And I actually have several friends who are doing this kind of work in the world, and I just think it's beautiful. And so I wanted to have a real meaningful conversation with Nikki today so that we can just capture the story and to get to know the person behind all the noise that society has whenever a person steps in to do the sexual healing work. And so I'm looking forward to talking with you today. And before I go there, I wanted to let you know what's happening behind the scene with Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. So this past week I've been working. Oh my goodness, I'm trying so hard to brand my message, get the message neat, clean, and clear. I even spent a bunch of money to hire myself a marketing coach so I can get some guidance on how to speak to the populations out there. What I really want to do is bring sex life and consciousness to the women out in the world, the women who are like me, facing something, and we're thriving, we're a mom, we're a wife or a girlfriend, and in relationships, and we're doing our best to bring passion, the passion, the hotness, and the joy, and the connection, the deep, deep connection together with our men. And it is so not easy. So that's another reason why I come with Nikki today. It's so much fun, so that we can get more, just open ourselves up and allow more knowledge, allow more joy, more fun, more tips and tricks and things like that to just keep igniting the fire within ourselves and our own sexuality and bring it into our relationship. So that's what Sex, Lies, and Consciousness has been up to this week. I'm building my naked room where people can come in and get private, different kind of services with me, like dating again, coaching hours that I'm going to start in a couple weeks. So just all the little nuts and bolts. I have 1,000 things to do. Anyway, so that's behind the scene on Sex, Lies, and Consciousness. So let me bring in Nikki. Nikki, say hi, honey.
Hello.
Yay. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And why don't you just take a few moments and just tell the audience about you so they can have they can develop a connection with you. And then we'll dive into our meaty conversation.
Okay, fantastic. Well, my name is Nikki Lundberg, and I live in Las Vegas. I am married, and I'm a mother, and I am a professional sex coach, masseuse, escort, and dominatrix. Yes. So I'm really happy to be able to be here and put it all out there.
You are so brave. I have to tell you, you are so brave. I have looked at this whole arena for many, many years, and I feel the calling to do all that you said, and I'm just like, I don't know how to hold being a mother and do all these things, and I don't know how to put it all out there because it seems so paradoxical, so bold, daring, and so alone out there to have all those titles next to your name.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of work. My personal background, I have time, clean and sober in a 12-step program, like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of self-searching and, getting honest with myself. And then in the last, decade, oh my gosh, almost decade, I started on the journey of entrepreneurship, which at heart, at the heart of all of this is being a business owner and an entrepreneur. So anyone who's on that journey knows how we start doing a lot of personal growth. So that took it even deeper. But then when my own personal life was getting totally derailed because I wasn't addressing my own sexual personal needs, that's when I started applying all the things I had learned through 12 steps, through personal growth, to my sex life and my ideas and beliefs about sex.
Well, honey, we just have to stop the train right here, and we're going to visit the station because it's so big. Say more about that. Just a little window into what broke down in your sex life and your personal relationship that compelled you to do something different.
Well, I know from the work I've done, of course, that I know my personality type, and I really, I love the attention. I like to be presenting and sales and all that kind of thing. I had a business that failed, and so I was back to work, and I wasn't getting what I wanted at home or at my, because it wasn't my business anymore. I was working for someone else.
Yeah.
And then for me at that time, it came out sideways in a negative way. Now, I found that for me, I have my own definition of integrity, and I have to have everything lined up and in the open. That's how it works for me. Other people are able to compartmentalize, and that's great, but I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I acted out and had affairs, and then it got really bad to the point where we were going to divorce, because once everything came out in the open, it was like I realized I didn't want to stay with him if my marriage was going to be the way it was, which basically we got married and he put on his good husband hat and I put on my good wife hat, and away we went, So there's a lot of breakdown in communication about a lot of things, not just sex, about money and time management, and it was just all the way around. We had a lot of breakdowns. I was dealing with a lot of fear from, just my background and seeing how men treated my mother. So even though my husband's not abusive, I always would react to him as though he was.
Yeah.
So I had to break through that too. And it was only when we were both so completely heartbroken and raw, and there was nothing else to lose. We were already going to get divorced. We were already going to be financially separated. I mean, it got down to that point that it was well, when he asked me, what do you really want, that I actually felt like, okay, now I can be honest because I can't hurt him any more than I already had.
Oh, what you're saying is so rich, so rich. I just have to slow down and highlight some stuff. It's I say we because I'm part of this, and I hear this in all my clients, and I see it in my girlfriend, and I lived it myself. It's we're so afraid of the breakdown place, but the breakdown place is so good because it's the place where we finally can't cover up anymore. We can't pretend anymore. We have to be honest with each other. We already hurt each other or enough that now heal and then have some real bold problems. All prettiness and all the orderly and all the good stuff in life that we thought was so important, that we worked so hard to keep in place, were actual lies, and how the things actually keep us from the relationship that we really wanted. I just love it, and the dichotomy of that.
Yeah. I agree.
And so all that pain hit, and then you finally got honest with each other. And then what happened?
Well, then we decided that we wanted to stay married.
Mm.
And we were going to redefine our marriage to fit our desires.
Mm.
And my husband is absolutely wonderful. He is very loyal. He's very loving. And, yeah, of course, we have our issues. But the fact was that we decided we want to stay married. I think that's the number one thing, is that if you want to work through stuff, you have to decide where you want to go. And since we decided we want to stay married at almost all costs, the only one thing he asked me was to be honest with him.
Mm.
And that's very difficult for me because, of course, I want to protect him or influence him, or if I'm getting very self-centered, I may want to manipulate him.
Yes.
But the fact is, he put it out there, and so I am sometimes brutally honest with him, but I try to come from a place of love and being like, hey, this is what's going on. So when I started out almost 5 years ago providing full-body sensual massage,
mm-hmm.
which for those who don't know, that's the happy ending massage.
Mm-hmm.
And we had boundaries around that. We also started swinging at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we had discussions, and we knew each other's desires and our boundaries and what was within the lines and what was not in the lines. And we also had a way that we were able to recover because of our background in dealing with personal growth. We knew how to communicate, so that was a huge blessing.
Yeah.
So we knew how to recover if something happened that was not planned. We knew how to take a look at it and see where our part was and make an amends and move on.
Could you be a bit more specific around that? Because this is something that's easier said than done. How do you recover when things go awry?
Well, the biggest issue I've seen for people is when they want to swing. They want to try swinging. So if you say, hey, we don't want to have intercourse with other people, but we'll go to Swingers Club and we'll just play with other people. But what the guy thinks of playing and the girl thinks of playing may be two different things.
Yeah.
So then the guy maybe gets a blowjob from another woman.
Yeah.
So then the wife is frustrated because she feels like that was too intimate.
Yeah.
So basically it's a point of, first of all, being honest. And second of all, believing your partner. That's another huge, huge thing, is making the decision to believe your partner. So if the guy says it didn't mean anything and he didn't mean to hurt her, she has to make that decision to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a deep, deep level of trust.
Yeah, and I think there's also wiring too, because most women have this thing inside us that says, I can't have sex unless it means something. So it's hard for us to really believe when our man said it didn't mean anything. Because it looks like they're having a good time. It looks like there's connection. It looks like he's getting off. That must have meant something, to us.
Right. Well, and that's programming. That's like all that stuff that we were taught. 90% by the time we're 5 years old, we're programmed. We don't even realize it's totally unconscious. And that's something where you can stop and look and say, well, this is a belief I have. Is this belief still working for me? Obviously not, because it's causing us friction.
Oh, yeah, but we don't see that as programming. We see that as the truth, right way. This is what woman has to get here. It's like I have to keep learning this over and over and over again. That emotional charge that I feel that raises all of my guard up, and I don't even recognize it as protection, but it is protection. It's like, you just into my territory, girlfriend, and you get the fuck out of here, you know, and you, how dare you stick your cock into that woman's mouth and enjoy it that much, you know? And so it's just all this protection and all this stuff, and I didn't realize that it was programming. I thought that was the truth. And that's what I love about us, like being able to tease this out so clearly right now. Is like, that is programming, people. That is not real. That is your insecurity working you and combining insecurity, fear, unknown, and then religious teaching, social teaching. It's a goner in big doo-doo, that level of righteousness. You know.
Well, okay, slow down a moment, because this is another thing, is that I see in the quote, you know, sex positive community or progressive, that sometimes people feel like we're promoting multiple partners, we're promoting BDSM or whatever, you know, alternative lifestyles.
Yep.
And I don't want that to be the case. I personally believe, and I haven't found this in the textbook yet, I think we have our sexuality in us. And the clearest example I could give is of a gay man who will, you know, we've heard plenty of stories about gay men who will live a straight lifestyle, have a wife, and have kids. And, I mean, they're fairly happy, productive citizens. But we know from those who have come out that that's not their ideal lifestyle, and they weren't completely fulfilled.
Yep.
So I think that some people, their ideal sexuality may be monogamy. Their ideal sexuality may be, like, for complete and utter fulfillment, may have to include some type of humiliation or pain or multiple partners or excitement. I mean, that's the erotic themes that we hear about, you know, your erotic theme. And unless you're actually getting those needs met, you're not having your ideal sex life. You are denying yourself, but not everyone is. Some people just want that same partner, monogamous, and that's what will work for them.
I don't disagree with that. I totally agree with you. And when you agree with your partner to go to a swinging club, there is something in you that you're wanting to explore. And the first thing that will happen, most people don't realize that what they have to explore is their own fear, their own insecurities, their own insecurities and unknown stuff, you know. So I'm just saying is that when you encounter those things, try not to go to the righteous place thinking that you're right and your husband or your wife is wrong. It's just a place to help you look and say, ooh, stuffs are coming up for me. Whee! You know, let me let me embrace that. See, we don't have language for that. We only have language for, you did this to me. You hurt me. You know, you betrayed me. We only have that language, and I want to encourage us to develop a new set of language that said, I'm feeling really challenged right now. I have hit a wall. Help me.
Right. Well, and that's what comes once you do work through that, and you get closer and closer to what your erotic theme or your sexual identity is. Then, if it doesn't match up with your spouse, that is when the work comes in between the two people.
And that's really scary work. I just wanted to say, yes, we know it's really scary. Nobody taught us to do this work. And when we find ourselves here, we just want to turn around and run or dig a hole and hide and say, could you just blow over and let me, you know, wake me up when it's over. But no, this is, like you said, the real work. And it's where you'll meet yourself and meet your partner fully.
So that's where the mistresses usually come in, right? Because people aren't willing to do the work.
Yes.
So, and because in our society, for a couple of reasons, it's more acceptable in general, as acceptable as it could be, for men to pursue it. That's what happens, because they're looking for someone that's going to fulfill their needs, but they don't want to sacrifice their livelihoods, their lifestyles, their families.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate that so many of them are doing this in such a way that is totally and completely breaking their wedding vows.
Yeah.
However, I do feel that in many cases they are acting for the highest good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing about a promise or a contract, is that how many promises or contracts are till death do you part, there's no chance to amend them.
Yeah.
It's like every 5 years, let's reevaluate this. No, it's like forever. So, that's the thing that's tough. So within ourselves, we make a new contract within ourselves to somehow make this behavior okay so that our need gets met and have it sequestered. Maybe it's only when you travel, or maybe it's only certain days, or you only do certain activities with the other person, and that makes it okay. And I think that's good, and I think it could be better.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Again, what you're saying is so big and so new that we're just gonna have to redo this one. I love your concept about renegotiate your marriage contract every 5 years. I've had that crazy idea a long time ago when my husband asked me to marry him, and that's what I said. But I didn't know anything of what I know now, so I thought I was just loony, and then I got labeled that, oh, you're saying that because you're not fully committing. So I just ditched the idea, and I never really knew how to work it, live it, and honor it. But now that you just said that, I'm like having this light bulb that comes on and going, dude, you were right. We should have followed that track. And now I can implement that with my current boyfriend. Let's look every 3 years. Let's just look to see where we're heading, what's happening with us, what do I need, what do you need, and how do we incorporate that into where we are right now. It's really scary, but it seems so sane.
It is scary, and you have to see what is the true commitment, because are you really going to stay in a relationship? I mean, what is your bottom line? Like, I've been divorced.
Yeah.
My bottom line, before I went to the counseling with that marriage, my bottom line was, well, he's not hitting me and he's not raping me. That was my bottom line.
You had a bottom line.
Yeah, well, I did. Until I went to a victim abuse counselor, and she broke through all these walls of denial. It was like, hello, he was emotionally abusive, financially abusive. And it was okay for me to put my well-being first. And now, even in this marriage, even though I don't have to worry about my well-being, I am able to put my emotional happiness first, even above my marriage, and that is what is scary.
Oh, honey, sister, how many women really do that, right? Come on now. That's not our bottom line. Our bottom line is, let's make this marriage work at all costs, go the distance, especially when you have a kid in there. Then it's like, I will tolerate anything and everything so that I can have the security of the house over me, this paycheck that comes in, and, so what if my husband has gone numb and dull with me or not even come home most of the time? Like that, our bottom line is really bottom.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not claiming I'm there 100%.
No, I'm not either. I'm just saying.
There are plenty of compromises.
Yeah, right. But what you're doing is you're raising the human condition, that is not spoken very clearly. And I think it's so important. It's like, what is our bottom line? And maybe it's time that we raise our bottom line and get it a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we committed to? Are we committed to some idea of a long-lasting marriage, or are we really committed to growing together and doing whatever it costs to grow as human beings? Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's deep. It is deep. So that's where, the compromise starts to come in, though. So just
So talk a bit more about a mistress. Have you been a mistress, or how do you what's your thing about being a mistress?
Well, I have background as a masseuse, an escort, and a dominatrix, and primarily my clientele have been married men,
Mm-hmm.
and I find that most of them do the compartmentalization.
Mm-hmm.
There's the exception to the rule where they have an open marriage, or they have an alternative lifestyle where the spouse knows what's going on. But in general, they are having a need that isn't being met at home.
Yep.
And I actually think it's safer and better for a guy to go see a professional because, in general, I mean, it's not the same as in the old days with the streetwalkers. You know, now with the internet, you can really find out about a person before you go to see them. Yeah. And it can be a lot safer, and you know what you're getting into. And a lot of the escorts and so on and so forth have a lot of knowledge about sex, sexuality, and safety.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing when I was thinking when I saw what you wrote, like everybody needs a mistress. Mm-hmm. And no matter what the title is that you give it, mm-hmm. the thing is about a mistress or an escort is that this is somebody who's devoting probably, not 100%, but close to 100% of their time to the erotic arts, either in the field practicing or researching or buying equipment, clothing, or what have you, that they're committed to that.
I even have a friend who's an escort, and she also spent her time channeling in the angels, doing a lot of spiritual work, meditations, and all that stuff, grounding work to support herself and her client. I mean, it can be quite amazing of an experience. It's not like what we've been told from the media, from Hollywood, that made this into that made these women, these beautiful souls, dirty. I've been amazed at what I am learning from these women.
Well, yeah, and there's different people out there for different needs. There are people that, if you're wanting more of a spiritual, hold on, I have a little cough. We're coming out of allergy season here in Las Vegas. Yeah. So if you're looking for more of that spiritual, tantric type of encounter, you can find that, and you know that that's what you're getting into. If you're looking for more of the kinky, you want that kind of a dirty encounter, but there is a way to get it safely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were using the word dirty differently. That's dirty, naughty, not what I was thinking about, where we shame and throw away, the sexual healers and workers and mistresses and escorts out there. It's just like, no, they're actually not like that. They're actually very beautiful women and quite generous and quite dedicated to, like you said, the erotic arts, the erotic ways of living and being in the world. It's fascinating to me. And when I wrote Everybody Needs a Mistress, I actually, at first I was thinking from the male perspective, but then as a woman I'm like, I could use a mistress too. Imagine what I could learn, and imagine what being around a mistress or even being intimate with a mistress that would teach me, that would embody me, that would bring back or help me connect to that erotic place inside me, instead of just all of this masculine crazy driving, working energy that I'm immersed in every day.
Right.
And that part was new to me. That was in my conscious, kind of like, oh, wow, what's there, And then when I wrote the other stuff about, how can a mistress teach? What can a mistress teach a wife or a girlfriend? What are some knowledge that we can learn from a mistress? I thought that was really brilliant too. I am very curious about that also. Like what. I know that you guys know stuff. Why else would men go to you, right? And stuff that somehow, because of my upbringing and my programming, I don't know. I've lost touch with, or I don't know. So I'm going to take a quick little break, and then we'll be right back, and we'll talk about what you can teach us. Okay?
Super. Thank you.
Is your marriage or relationship in crisis? Where one partner wants to expand into their sex and bring scary changes to the relationship, while the other partner is dug in, protective, and saying, "No way in hell is this going to happen." May knows this place well, and she can help both sides. She is truly amazing. Learn more about her specialty, crisis coaching for couples and individuals, at sexliesandconsciousness.com.
Yay, we're back. This is May, and today I'm talking with Nikki. She is an adult entertainer, a sex coach, a mistress, and a swinger, a wife, and a mother. And I love how she's able to hold all of these roles and integrate them and let them be a part of her life instead of separating it, being shame, or have it wrecked her marriage or her anything in her life. So I'm just so in love with the way you are, Nikki. It's just, I'm so impressed with your courage to be all of you fully.
Thank you.
And so teach us, Mistress. like you have in front of you, a willing student. What are some things that ordinary women like me could really learn from you that would really benefit me and benefit my relationship with my man?
Well, I think creating a lot of trust, that he could tell you anything, any desire, any fantasy, and that you won't reject him or judge him. I think that's the number one.
That's really hard for me because I don't even know what my own fantasies are, and sometimes I encounter things that makes my pussy wet, but my head is screaming bloody murder. How wrong that is, and I can't even make peace with that. So how can I be able to listen to my partner's desires when I can't even be with my own?
Well, take a deep breath. And be grounded in yourself and in your love and your commitment to him and your desire to be deeply connected with him. And just know that whatever he could possibly throw out, you're just going to let it wash over you. Mm-hmm. And just because it's verbalized does not mean you have to take action on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. When I hear it, I feel this humongous pressure to do something about it, fix it, provide it, run from it, or something. If I sit in reality, it feels like I'm not listening or I'm not doing something about it.
Well, what's really interesting is when you first hear it, you will have most likely your programmed responses or, your initial reaction. And what I found is that over time, as your mind kind of gets used to the idea of that interest or that discussion, then you might feel more comfortable about it.
Mm.
Or you might say, well, I'd be comfortable with it except for XYZ. Then you start to explore, well, what are the boundaries of it?
Mm.
I mean, everyone does have a limit.
Mhm.
And once you find that limit, then you're just like, hey, you know what? I don't even want to go there.
Mhm.
But until you give yourself that opportunity, then it's kind of like, well, you're just kind of putting up a block to all this potential goodness.
Mm.
So that's the number one thing I would say, May, is the
Build
creating that
really
trust and yes, acceptance.
Yeah. And then what?
Well, that's a process.
No.
That's a process.
See, I want it to be fun. I want it to be short. I want it to have immediate results.
Well, that's good, and maybe it will be for you. I think the other thing, and so this is coming from both the mistress side of me and the wife side of me. Okay, yeah. Is to have scheduled appointment times for sexual exploration. Mm. Because that's what I found with my clients as well as my husband. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel, when I'm with my husband, I don't feel like I'm with a client. Don't get me wrong. But it's like there's things I want to do with my husband that unless we schedule a babysitter and a time to be somewhere, it doesn't happen. Yeah. And then the same thing for my clients. They have the full hour or whatever it is. They're getting undivided attention from me. So that's, I mean, how often does our spouse get that?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I have been interviewing a whole bunch of spouses, both men and women, both sides, and that is the number one thing. Time, dedicated time, focusing on each other. The longer you stay in relationship, the less that time happens. And everybody longs for it, but it's like a frog sitting in a boiling water pot. You know, like if you put a frog into a cold pot and you heat it up slowly, the frog doesn't know to jump out and he will die. But if you put it in hot water, he'll jump right because it's so hot. So it's that with marriages and couples. You know, if we sit there and we bowl out and we numb out day after day, weeks after weeks, and then everyone saying, "Oh, I'm too tired, I'm too busy," me included. And then we don't have that dedicated, delicious time with each other.
Yeah. I mean, quickies are great, but there is nothing like having an hour where one person is giving and one person is receiving.
Yeah.
And then, once if you do that on a regular basis, then that opens up that time for that discussion about your sex and sexuality. So it's not like this big thing out of left field. Like, hey, you know, I want to pork the dog. It's like, oh my God, where did that come from? You know, what
did that mean? What did you say? That's a language.
Right.
What did you say? I want to pork the dog?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's one of those really out there sexual interests is having sex with dogs.
Oh, got it. Well, but see, I think this is really important. I'm glad that this subject comes up right here. See, we as a society don't talk about things like that because if we do, we think that's disgusting and wrong. So I want to be the space to champion this. So say that terminology again so that we can all hear that. I want to port the dog. Is that right?
Yeah.
P-O-R-T. Is that what you said?
Pork, like a P-O-R-K.
Okay. I want to. Everyone, we learned a new term today. I learned a new term today.
Now, I'm not condoning
okay.
this behavior. However, a lot of people have, these interests in animals. It is a part of human sexuality, and it's in the spectrum of human sexuality, okay?
It is. And see, I can tell, I can feel your uncomfortableness talking about this. I can feel mine. And I know this is weird, but if we're going to say, create a place that your husband can say anything, we have got to be able to hear these terms, curious with it, and take a big deep breath like you tell us to, and let it wash over us and say, it's okay, it can exist, people do this, and it's fine.
Yeah, and then after a little while, you figure out where you personally sit with it, if that's something that you're going to allow into your actual reality and experience or not.
Yeah.
And, my answer is no. I am not interested in cross-species play.
Not right now or forever?
Not today. Not today. But you know what can be fun is there's another type of play that's just next door to that where you act like you're animals. It's like puppy play or kitten play where you act like you're... Huh?
Pony play.
Pony play, exactly, where one person or both acts like an animal.
Yeah.
It's like...
I'm not into that either, and there's nothing wrong with it. I've seen some pictures where people actually have manes on their head and have a tail coming out of their butt, like there's a plug that has a tail come out, and I'm fascinated. And then they have a little cage that they could go in and live in or call in and out, and that turns them on. It doesn't do anything for me, unfortunately, but I think it's fascinating that is like a whole big industry in its own right.
Yep.
Aren't we so precious and beautiful in all of our colors? Talk about 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, my goodness. What else? Tell us more, Mistress.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I think to lighten up and be more open-minded and really see what are the principles that are really important to you. And if you think monogamy is really important to you, ask yourself why. And keep asking yourself why. Because what's going to come down to for most people is not even about monogamy, it's about what it means to them.
Yeah.
And so if you're able to be deeply committed, loyal, honest, trustworthy, like these are the things that we think monogamy symbolizes.
Yeah.
What if you can have all those things and still get your sexual needs met, if need be, by someone outside the marriage?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't go, when you need a good massage from a licensed massage therapist, you don't go to your spouse. Unless they're LMT.
Yeah.
Well, unless they're an LMT. Or if you need your taxes done and you're being audited by the IRS, you don't go to your spouse unless they're an accountant, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just crazy that we look to this one person to fulfill every single need in this huge part of ourselves. So instead of finding a way to get those needs met, we ignore them and stuff them and go numb.
Yeah, and then the reverse is also true. So there's a nice collusion. Then the spouse also takes on this responsibility of, like, if I'm a good spouse and if someone's important to you, I better be the one that provides that for you. Meanwhile, you're completely equipped to do this. You have your own, relationship with sexuality that you haven't worked through, and and so all this stuff, this pressure that the spouse takes on has their own responsibility. It's crazy making.
Yes. Well, and then there's the person that decides to take care of their own needs, but it's just like, now I don't know what your opinion is about, for example, legalizing marijuana or legalizing prostitution, but my opinion is that those things are generally victimless crimes, okay, except for, sex slavery or like that. But generally speaking, my opinion is they're victimless crimes. But the fact that they're made illegal by society puts those people in the position of being a felon or a criminal.
Yep.
And then that is what puts them in these negative places. So when say your husband, or it could be your wife, but when your husband is put in that position to have to sneak around and be a criminal because he can't be open in his own house about his needs, that is what we're looking at.
Yep. And the difficulty about this is that because we, and this happened to both sides, men and women, because we keep ourselves in our own prison. Oops, you're in a very windy place. We keep us in our own prison, in our own mind of what's possible, what's appropriate, what's acceptable, what's too much, too little, all that stuff. And so we don't know that we've been imprisoning ourselves. Therefore, we don't know that we're imprisoning our partner also. Hang on a sec. Sorry, I muted you because there was so much wind. Go ahead, honey.
Oh, no, I was just listening about the...
So that the complication of this, it's like, I hear what you're saying is that, don't make it illegal for your spouse to tell you what they want and what they desire. And at the same time, you got to look inside and see that you have put yourself in your own prison. You have illegalized your own thoughts and your own desires. And so you don't even have much room to move around in your head, about what you like or don't like or explore or not and appropriate or not. So then both sides get imprisoned in this relationship.
Yes.
Painful. What else? What about some yummy, tantalizing sexual tricks? I gotta give them something, like too much consciousness and not enough sex will kill my show. So
okay. More lube.
More lube. That's a simple one, but it's so important. Do you have a lube to recommend?
No, I like different types of lube for different types of play. There's one gal that makes a sex butter, and I'll send you the link. She's on Facebook. She makes a sex butter, and that's totally organic. That's very nice. But I use that at home with hubby. For other partners, I like to use silicone base for anal play and water base for pussy play.
Why?
Well, silicone, it tends to be a little thicker and to last a little longer. And for the pussy play, I'll sometimes use silicone, but I prefer the water base because it tends to you can still get a good amount of friction. And if you're at all prone to any type of urinary infections, or if you're sensitive in your pussy, then water base will be a little gentler.
Yeah.
And I like the Joe H2O because it also tastes good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Joe H2O. That's my preference for that one.
I like the Costco big bottle of Astroglide. I mean, I was so happy when Costco carried Astroglide. It's behind the medicine counter, and it's huge because that stuff is expensive. So you can get twice the size for the same price.
Oh, I will have to have my husband check that out. Thank you for letting me know.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm bringing you information. But it's they've been carrying this for a while now, and it's so super great. I love Astroglide.
Awesome. So that's more lube, even if you don't think you need it. Like for women, they think, I'm still getting wet. Yeah. I talk to a lot of the couples that I've worked with. Yeah. If the female is past menopause, and I've heard this more than once, that because they're past menopause, so they start using lube, and they wish they had started years before because it's just so much better.
Yeah, it's like not unnecessary friction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the number one. The number two, I would say, is take turns. Rather than, making out is nice and you're both feeling each other up and having sex is nice, but there is something nice also about, one partner laying down and the other partner doing things to them. One giving, one receiving.
Yeah, fully. And just stay in that place. And that's actually another very important thing about that too, is that not only do you then have focused attention, because like when I get to just forgive, there's a sense of being or an eroticism that goes through me that feels really different than when I try to juggle both receiving and giving.
Yes.
And it's also a great place to check on your ability to receive. Like, how long can you lay there and fully receive? That probably shows up in all aspects of your life. So you might want to learn to receive more and more and more so that you can quiet down those selfish noise and the judgment in your head, because receiving is so important in having a healthy relationship.
Yes.
Most people walk around complaining that they don't get enough, but it's not because they don't get enough. It's because they don't know how to receive. So, note to self on that one.
That's a good insight, yes.
Yeah. Let's see. We have about 9 minutes left. Why don't we shift a little bit and just like, how do they find you, Nikki? And what, I looked at your, some of your site today. I didn't know about Nikki's lessons, and they are awesome, girlfriend. You've done a lot of work and you put out a lot of good stuff out there. So will you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, and I'm always adding more. So Nikki'sLessons.com, that's my video website, and I started that actually 2 years ago this month. And it goes along with the entrepreneur in my heart,
Yeah.
It's like you can only massage or fuck or spank so many people at once. So I created that website so that I could eventually be able to take vacations and not worry about income, of course. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the business side of it. The inspiration comes from all the people that I've worked with that they don't know how to do whatever it is.
Right.
And especially the kinky stuff, the prostate massage, I have fire play on there, more BDSM type stuff on there. Now I am working on more basics, like I have vulva massage I just put up. So basically you could go on, you have to register to see the previews, so at least I have your email address. And then you get all the written material is free on there, all the articles, and previews are free. Now, if you want to see the full length, then it's paid, of course. So, that's because I need some compensation, and it costs money to run it. So, but basically, I put on there, it's all volunteer models, and I put on there what tickles my fancy at the moment. When there's a lot of people asking about prostate, then I focus on that. I had a season where I was doing a lot of shaving. There's a lot of erotic shaving on there. There's a lot of anal things and BDSM, and so I just kind of go with the flow on what inspires me with that site.
Yeah, I love it, and I totally support you with that, and I want everyone to support you with that, because it's really, I was really pleased. I looked at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so open and honest and vulnerable, and just, putting yourself fully out there, and really, really educating, taking a stand for this place that very, a sliver between porn world, real world. There's a place there that I think is not occupied enough, with real sex educators and real image of what real sex look like. And so I really appreciate that.
That's what's really tough because I am the one in most of the videos, you know, naked, totally out there. But I found like if you want to teach, especially, you know, stereotypically speaking, you want to teach the guys about how to eat pussy, you got to show them. You can't just tell them. Because they're just, you know, there's generally I know I'm making a lot of generalizations, but generally speaking, they're much more visual, and that's what's going to hold their attention. Yes, they may be jacking off while they watch, but at least they're learning the technique, you know what I mean? So
yeah, totally. So that's Nikki's lesson, and then there's Nikki Lundberg, the coaching site.
Yes, and that's for those who may be a little more conservative and don't want to deal with video or visual images that may be outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's NikkiLundberg.com. That's also where I do have my private coaching sessions. I have my book that I wrote, Mild to Wild, Fun and Easy Ways to heighten your intimacy.
Yeah.
I wrote that last year, and I have my DVD on there, The Squirting Orgasm.
Yay!
Yeah, so there's, you know, just different things have to go on different websites. When you're in the adult industry, you can't put a personal session with a video site. So.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation today and for being so open and upfront about all of your pieces and showing us that, you know, this is wholesome, healthy, and there's nothing wrong with this, and this is a place that we could all look toward, you know, have models to be in the world like you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, May.
So next week, I have another fun show coming up. I am going to be talking with my friend Paul Hess. He's going to talk about the sex machine diet. So Paul has been doing tons of studies and have a deep knowledge of what to eat so that you can keep your sex machine going. Paul is 55, 53, something like that, and he is not experiencing a lot of stuff that most men complain about when they hit 50. So, hint, hint. So, I'm excited. I can't wait. And there's stuff there for men to do and for women to do. I am blown away by what he had shared with me so far. So, I look forward to having that conversation with him next week. In the meantime, have a wonderful week, everyone, and be safe and have lots of good sex.
Do you want more sex, lies, and consciousness? Access our archives at sexliesandconsciousness.com. While you're there, please leave your comments or suggestions for the show and participate in current SLC conversations with other listeners worldwide.